You guys remember this scene from Gladiator?
Anyone here been in the army?
Yes. I served with you in Nevada.
You can help me. Whatever comes out of these gates, we've got a better chance of survival if we work together. Do you understand? If we stay together, we survive.
You know, it's a movie about a story that didn't really happen, but it does contain some universal truths. For example, fuck with the wrong guy and watch what happens. Petty, effeminate men are poor leaders, but the one truth I want to point out is this one. When you work together as a team, you can win. If you fight like individual prima donnas, you're going to get picked off like individual prima donnas. Team A takes the field as an organized group with a plan. Team B is a mob of goobers with no plan, and that is why everybody knows about the Romans and nobody knows jack shit about the Celts. Now, I've been pushing the formation thing lately on our flyouts, not because I'm some fucking anal Nazi control freak, but because I honestly believe it greatly improves our spotting and dogfighting capabilities. And I came to that conclusion flying fighter sorties led by Cinerox and becoming familiar with the SCG manual and the formations and basic tactics. Now, JG52 is still obviously a work in progress. Since Cinerox came back, it has clearly been demonstrated, at least to me, that these approaches work pretty damn well as a foundational level. And this is relevant to ZG1 because most of the time we run missions in 110s and 109s, and these aircraft are fighters. Obviously, our capability to bring the pain is handicapped when we're carrying a bomb load, but once those are off, we are certainly not helpless. Now, I have avoided learning to dogfight like I have avoided prostate exams because I didn't think I was any good at it. Turns out I just had a shitty Troc IR setup, and now I'm singing a different tune. And I know there's nothing more annoying than a fucking reformist, but I think we can all agree the better we all are at handling aerial threats as a team, the better we will do overall. Here's an example of what I mean. When we're in a gaggle like this, and like for example, Schneeman says, I got a gunner call out. Nobody has a clue where the enemy is because nobody knows where Schneeman is. So we're all jumping out our asses, looking in every direction, trying to spot the enemy location. If we're flying as rotes and spaced accordingly, we can spot an incoming enemy more effectively and react more competently instead of being in the dark initially and handing all the advantages to the incoming enemy. And guys, just simply being able to get ourselves into these positions after takeoff and coming off the target is literally half the battle right there. So this is what I propose. For 4 aircraft, we go with 2 rotes. For 6 aircraft formations, we go with 3. And when we have 5 aircraft, the flight leader goes without a wingman and is flanked on right and left by 2 rotes. I think this is the best solution because the key to not getting bounced is mutual spotting to the 6 of the outside rotes. And the flight lead 6 just naturally falls within that line of sight. So the 2 back guys focus primarily on the other rote 6, while the rote leaders split their focus on that area as well as to the front, while the flight lead focuses on the front. And that's pretty much the same as what we're doing in a 4-ship formation or a 6-ship formation, except in a 6-ship formation, the flight lead has a wingman to help watch the front and back. I propose the JG52 numbering system with rote 2 always on the left of the flight lead and rote 3 always on the right. These are the rote personnel assignments I propose when all 6 of us show up. I think synergy develops when you fly wing with the same person repeatedly, and it streamlines the process by removing any questions on the runway about everybody's position for lineup. However, many times we will not have all 6 of us for various reasons, and flight lead changes frequently between me and Cool Whip. So in the latter case, we simply switch positions between 1 and 2. And in the former case, when people don't show up, we just adjust to the 5 or 4 aircraft formation as required. And I'm not too worried about that because one of our unique capabilities is flexibility. We have all winged with each other many, many times. So whether we have to alter formations assignments based on who showed up or make changes on the fly in the middle of the mission, I don't see any issues pulling that off. The hardest part to any of this is regrouping when we're egressing off the target. And if we got enemies already on us over the target area or coming out of there, we just don't have the luxury of getting a formation back together. And we just got to deal with enemies the best we can in whatever configuration we find ourselves in. One thing we can do to improve the situation is when we're doing multiple pass attacks and the flight leader gives the order to egress, you immediately drop what you're doing in egress. Do not make one more pass where I'm just going to drop this last bomb, because that delay is going to put you way behind the group. That spreads out our aircraft dispersion and makes it harder for the fighters to cover all of us. And if you get jumped, everybody who did it right in egress without delay now has to turn around and put themselves in peril to bail you out of that mess. On single and two pass attacks, flight leads need to slow down prior to the attack dive so the group can tighten up for that attack dive. And to the extent possible, while you're on the attack dive and lining up on your target, rote leaders try to keep an eye on the flight lead, and wingmen keep an eye on your rote lead. And coming off the target, we need to be chattering on comms like a bunch of bitches in single mom group therapy. Rote leads need to ID the flight lead, wingmen need to ID the rote leads, and get back in formation as quickly as possible. Once out of flak range, guys in the front need to drop power, and guys in the back need to stay at combat power to get back in position. Now, I'm just as guilty as anybody else in being fixated on screaming the fuck out of that target area on full power in a mob of individuals, everybody hoping they're not the one that gets spotted, like a every man for himself kind of thing. And if you're in a Ju-88A4 or some aircraft you can't use to defend yourself, that zebra herd mentality is valid. But in a 110 or a Yabo, we're not zebras, guys. We're more like a herd of water buffaloes, perfectly capable of defending ourselves until the escorts get down to the fight. Now, the decision to keep running or everybody turn around and fight is a very hard one to make, because the flight lead is usually operating with very limited information concerning enemy numbers, enemy location, enemy energy, and skill level. Usually all you know is somebody has a gunner call out or a gunner firing or they're taking hits, etc. Additionally, you have to know, are you out of target area flak range? Are you still over enemy territory or in friendly territory if you have to ditch your bail? And this is the thing. Most single engine enemy fighters are faster than you in a 110. In a 109 or 190 Yabos, it depends on what aircraft the opposition are using. In 110s, you will most likely not outrun a pursuer if you continue running. The other thing is we now have escort fighters who should be coming into the fight, so when someone gets a gunner call out, flight lead has to consider whether the escort will get there in time if we continue running before one of us gets fucked up. Now, every egress situation is different, but personally, with all the time we put into flying fighters and dogfighting the past year and all the improvements ZG1 has made in that area, I'm leaning towards the water buffalo mode as opposed to the zebra mode default we've been operating at. But that decision depends on the factors highlighted already, and ultimately I just want to do whatever gets the most people back to base in one piece. There are certainly advantages and disadvantages to either decision. The less spread out we are on egress, the easier it is to make that decision. And at any rate, you as an individual pilot, if you get engaged on egress, you have 3 steps to take. Number 1, notify the flight lead on voice comms. Number 2, ID the enemy location behind you by looking at the gunner facing. And number 3, if the enemy is in firing range, go into scissors, slow down, and force that guy to overshoot. And somewhere in that procedure, hopefully, the escort cavalry should be arriving, or ZG-1 will be turning around to assist you. The last thing I want to talk about real quick is gunner range settings. One issue is some of us have gunners set to long range, and some like me keep them at medium range. I remember one mission we were 110 G2s and Pitt got a gunner call out, and it was a Spit 5 pretty far behind us, but he picked him up because he had a long range gunner. And I watched the replay, and that Spit 5 was not gaining on us, but we had no idea where that motherfucker was, so we started S-turning, trying to spot him, and that gave him the chance to catch up to us. So in that case, sometimes having a long-range gunner has advantages, but in that case, it did more harm than good. So I suggest one guy, and one guy only, sets his gunner to long range, and the rest of us stay at medium range. That way, we have 2 layers of gunner coverage, which provides more specificity on the enemy distance. When the guy with the long range gunner gets a call out, but nobody else gets a call out, we know the enemy's at long range, and the guy with the long range call out can give us a rear gunner facing direction and angle, so we can all look out that direction and get some clarity on that issue. So that's it. We can talk this out. Nothing's set in stone. These are just some things that I've been thinking about. We're going to try all this stuff over the coming months, guys, and once we figure out what works, I'll try to put this in a manual, kind of like the one that Cinerox wrote, and then ZG1 will have an SOP. All right, see you guys later. Bye.